Alright, hey guys, this is the 2017 Mercedes E-Class. This particular model here is a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. It's the E350E. Now, you may notice that this is not the standard production quality of our reviews, but because this car has been sold, it needs to be back in the workshop tomorrow to be ready to be sold. So nonetheless, hopefully it's an informative and helpful video for you guys. So this is a mid-size premium sedan, which means it competes with the Audi A6, the BMW 5 Series, the Lexus GS and ES, and the Jaguar XF, and I'm sure there's other cars as well which you guys know of, but anyway, that's the E-Class. Now obviously it sits in between the C-Class and the S-Class, the C being the compact and the S being the full-size sedan, and they all share the same design, so they all look actually very, very similar, which is, yeah, I guess it's either good or bad depending on whether you like the design or not, but I think it's a very sleek and timeless design. You get these beautiful 19-inch wheels with very nice coloured brake calipers there as well. And what I found interesting coming from a C-Class is just how much higher this is off the ground. Like, it really does sit a lot higher, which is great if you've got back issues and that sort of thing. It's just going to be so much easier getting in and out of this car as well. This also is equipped with the AMG line package, so you can see the front bumper is a slightly more aggressively styled one, which does look a lot better. And then of course you've got the AMG wheels there. Now this does have a kick sensor, so you can just use your feet to open and close it. And of course, being a plug-in hybrid, you do have a little bit less cargo space, but it's still very, very deep. And you do have some extra storage down here as well, which is great. First aid kit too, so that's nice. And you can close the boot with this button, and you can close and lock it with that button, or again you can use your feet. Ooh. Sometimes you have to there you go. One of those things which I'm sure after a few times you'll know what to do. You'll know the right spot and all of that. Down here you have your charging port, and I must say this colour, by the way, is called White Diamond, and it's got a very nice pearl colour to it as well. But yeah, here's your EV charging port as well. And if we take a look here in the back seats, firstly, it has a lovely Burmester sound system, and you've also got heated rear seats as well in the back. And what's great about this leather, what really stood out to me, this car's done about, I think it's either 50 or 70,000 Ks or so, but the leather has held up really well. And this is actually their real leather. This is called Napa leather, or semi-aniline leather, which is just so much more plush and soft. I know it looks weird, me just filling up these chairs here, but seriously, you just have to experience it for yourself. It honestly does feel, look at me molesting these seats, but seriously, it does feel so soft, and it's obviously stood up very well over time as well. Of course, here you got your rear cup holders and some storage in there, not a lot of storage, fit a couple of phones in there maybe. And that's the back seat. Now, in the front seat, here we have the optional digital gauge cluster. So this one here is yeah, you can get it with a standard gauge cluster with a smaller screen on the inside, but this is quite cool. It's fairly configurable, and the way you control it is that you've got here, oh, it's a hot day, so you've got the aircon crank. Let's turn that down just a bit. You can control this screen with this here, you see, which is nice. You can change the designs. You can go back here if you prefer more traditional looking designs. You go there and you can go to sport, or Classic, if that's more your jam. They all look fine, to be honest. They don't do a huge amount of different stuff, but it's just how it's laid out. But I quite like this progressive one here. Yeah, head-up display as well. You can see up the top there, you've got a head-up display. It is colour, which is great. And this car is also equipped with the speed sign recognition feature. So as you drive past speed signs, it'll put the speed up on the HUD, and it will also put it down here in the gauge cluster as well. Now these controls here actually control the other main infotainment screen. So similarly here, you can see I can control it with that. Yeah, now personally, I just wish it was a normal scrolly wheel. This touch stuff, it's not bad, but I don't know why it's necessary when you could just have a physical kind of ball that scrolls along. It would just feel a bit better and probably be a bit more accurate as well. But anyway, it works really well. So you've got that. That's how you control those. Now this is very, again, classic of the interior design that came with the W205 C-Class, this generation E-Class, and of course the S-Class as well. Very similar, but again just feels a little bit bigger, which is obviously what you would expect for a mid-size sedan. Now somebody's going to be moving their car, so I better move this thing forward a bit. I'll just move it forward over here, appropriately in the EV parking spot, although I'm parking the wrong way around. And you can see here as well, you do have your 360-degree camera. So you press this button down here, and you've got automatic parking, which is great. It can do perpendicular, it can do parallel, whatever. And then you've got your different camera selections here as well. So very, very handy, and trajectory lines as well. So that's that. Right, now with this interior, look at these again, these gorgeous seats. They really are very, very comfortable. Very nice stitch work. It's just a real piece of art when you see, interior trims or seats which just have really very nice design on them. Just makes it just so much nicer. And you do feel this bolstering here as well. Obviously, it's a bit more aggressive in its bolstering, but I quite like it. It really does sort of, hug you in the seat very nicely. Now with the seat controls here, what's really awesome is that you do have your normal, again, Mercedes seat controls over here, and you can see over here you do have this button here. And what's great about this is that you press that, and now you can use your controls to actually move the front passenger seat, which is really cool. And you can also control their heated seats as well. You can see there the lights coming on for their seats, which is so nice. And I actually really love Mercedes design when it comes to this. It just works really well, and the reason is because, yes, electric seats are becoming more popular now, but there's been quite a few times I've driven other passengers and I'm trying to explain to them how these work, but when they're down on the side here, like most cars. And you're like, the long thingy, if you move the longy, not that long one, the other thingy, and you move it up, and not that one, the other one, and their seats going up and down, left and right. Whereas in here, they can actually see the buttons which they're controlling. They can actually see all these switches, and it's pretty self-explanatory as to what moves what. I do also like how it does have, you can see here as well, the thigh extension support. You can pull it in like that and extend it, which is really nice. And you've got here what we call this open pore black ashwood trim, which is really, really nice. It does feel very expensive. It looks way better than the tacky glossy trim that you see in many cars. Now ergonomically, a funny thing, most of the controls and everything feels really nice, okay? But I would say they have taken form slightly over function in this area. So here you have these, and these look really nice, they feel really nice, but the problem I have with these is that they all are the same switches, which means if I'm driving and I want to go and turn on the rear window defogger, then I have to look at everything. I can't just feel with my fingers. I have to look down here, and I just wish that, you know, again, I recently reviewed that Audi A5. It just had a much better you know, HVAC control system set up. So again, form looks nice. It's not the worst thing in the world. I'd rather it look really nice than look cheap and tacky. But yeah, I just think it, with having the same design of the buttons, it does make it a little bit less functional. So yeah, you've got that. Now up here as well, another funny thing. So in the C-Class, you do have these little, you know, nipply things to move the climate control vents around. It's awesome, but these middle ones don't, and it just feels like a bit of a mistake, because even the world's cheapest cars have a bit of plastic in the middle here which you use to turn, and it feels weird just turning these. It doesn't feel right. It feels like you're supposed to control them some other way. There's no nice, you know, good way of holding on to this and moving it other than just touching that, which doesn't feel right. And I know in some cars, like if you get your nice Bentleys and your rollers and all that, you can use a little switch like this to move the vents around, but no, this just closes and opens the vents. So yeah, a bit weird really. I don't know why. It's kind of the same as moving it like this. It just feels a bit weird. Why would they not just have one of these in the middle of those? Right, now interior light, ambient lighting, very, very nice in this car. You've got quite a lot of options. Obviously it's a bit bright now, so it's hard to show you everything. If I go to here, I can go home, I can go vehicle, I can go to light settings, and I'm not going to show you everything, but what I will show you is just there are a lot of cool options when it comes to ambient lighting and all that, as you can see here. You can choose to have what they call multicolor animation, which you can see there, and basically, so these words here like glacier blue, as you can see here in the color there, it's not a fixed static color. It kind of slowly changes. It's kind of like looking at the aurora borealis, where you sort of see these different hues changing. So it's quite a cool way of doing ambient lighting. I do really like that. You do also get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto in here as well, which is nice. Now it is wired, not wireless, but it looks great on this very large screen here as well. Practicality wise, I mean, yep, you've got lots of good storage here, very large door bins there as well, nice, decent, deep storage area here, and a little trick, there's actually a bit of storage deep down there that a lot of folks don't know about. So it's great for, you know, hiding valuable things in there. Lots of nice dampening in this car as well, as you can see. Everything's very nicely dampened. You've got your smelling essence thing here as well to make the car smell nicer. I think that's sort of most of the interior, really. Yeah, all the switchgear in this does feel nice. Everything seems to feel really nice and work well, other than just what I mentioned earlier about these switches here and the climate control there. But that's just me being me particularly picky. Otherwise, it's great. So let's hit this thing up for a drive then. So driving the 2017 Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and if you're coming from a C-Class like myself, you're going to notice this is a funny feeling because it's a very similar interior, but just everything's a bit bigger, and you also notice the pretty significant step up in ride comfort. It's a lot softer. You know, you can get this option with the air suspension, with the what they call air body control, and yet this thing feels incredibly smooth for your non-air suspension option. My first C-Class had air suspension. Our current C-Class does not have air suspension. I didn't find that the air suspension was that much better, and of course if you are going to get air suspension, it needs to be a lot better to justify the added cost in potential repairs and maintenance and that sort of thing. And so again, I haven't driven the E-Class with air suspension, but certainly this one here without it is very, very soft and very nice. Even on these roads here, they're quite bumpy, but you don't really feel the bumps anywhere near as much as our CLA or our C-Class. There's just Really does feel a lot softer. It handles around these corners really nicely, actually. I've been fairly impressed with the handling because it does not feel as bulky and as heavy as it looks. I've managed to push it around a few corners and not feel like this thing was going to topple over or anything. It feels relatively flat, but a really nice drive. Even though this car is not really like a driver-focused car. It's not one that's about engagement and a lot of work. It's a nice, easy drive where you are somewhat isolated from the road and what's around you. But despite that, it is still a very fun car to drive. All Mercedes cars, as you know, they come with the Dynamic Select, which is basically their driving modes. And of course, down here you've got your select switch where you can change driving modes. So I can go Sport. I was in Comfort earlier, Sport Plus, and you know, it works fairly well. I've enjoyed mostly driving in Comfort. It's been fine for the most part. It doesn't feel too slow, and Sport's been a bit fun when you're going around the bends and all that. But this being the hybrid model, you also have another button down over here, and this changes the hybrid modes. And so there's 4 main modes. The first one is hybrid, and basically it's the sort of default setting. It's the car will dictate when it should use a bit of electric power, when it should be using gasoline power, and it's going to charge as you drive it. But it's going to be pretty balanced in using both the petrol and electric engine to give you the best economy. But you then can change to E mode. Now E mode is basically a full EV mode, and it cuts off the power to the engine. And now if you put your foot down and you need to get somewhere seriously, it will kick on the petrol engine. But for the most part, it's going to stay electric, which is great. Now you've also got another mode, which is E-Save, and I really like E-Save, and I wish other hybrids had E-Save. I think newer hybrids are getting this sort of mode, but older hybrids don't. And what E-Save does is that it will try and conserve your battery for later. So for example, if you're driving on a road trip and you're cruising on the highway, the petrol engine's actually quite efficient. Petrol engines work great when they're cruising. They're not so great when they're in start-stop traffic. So if you know you're on a road trip, but then when you get to Auckland, for example, and there's a big queue getting into Auckland, you might use E-Save so that when you are in traffic, you're using the electric mode only. And the last mode that you've got here is charge mode. So basically, whenever you're driving this car with the petrol engine, it's always going to try and charge the batteries, but this one will try more aggressively to charge the batteries. So it will use regenerative braking a bit more, and it will use more of the power to send it to the battery to charge it. So that's quite neat, and I've really enjoyed actually playing around with different modes and finding what the most optimal mode is for my driving situation. Now you should be able to get about 30 or so Ks of range, I think about 20 to 30 Ks, depending on how you drive and all that, of pure electric power. And this being a hybrid plug-in electric, basically if you live close to your work, then you can drive to and work every day and pretty much get there fully electric. So that's great, obviously. That means you're not spending any money on fuel. And what's also great is that some hybrids, they will restrict the speed at which you can use the electric drivetrain. And this does not have that. So, or if it does, it must be fairly fast. But going 100 Ks or whatever, you can still drive fully electric. Now, the engine in this particular model is a 2-litre turbocharged engine. And it doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound amazing either. Now it's okay because, again, this is the more economy orientated version of the E-Class, not the performance version, and the engine's very, very quiet, so most of the time you don't really hear the engine at all. And of course you're also driving electric half the time as well, so you don't really hear it. But when you do hear it, it does sound a little bit rougher. It doesn't feel rough, but just sounds okay. But again, most of the time you're not really going to hear it. so it's not much of an issue. It wouldn't put me off from buying this car, certainly, but it is something that I did notice, and there are other cars out there with also a 2-litre turbo engine and they're fairly smooth, so this one I just thought wasn't as smooth as it could be. But again, it drives smoothly. It's just the sound, that's all. Now this car does come loaded with heaps of really cool driver tech. You can do the parking, automatic parking. You can do it remote parking as well with the app on your phone. You've got all your radar cruise and your steering assist. The steering assist is a lot better than our 2015 C-Class. One thing that's great is that the steering wheel is touch sensitive, so if you put your hands near or on the steering wheel, that's enough to let it know that you're still conscious and behind the wheel. In our C-Class, it's a torque-based one, so you have to actually move the steering wheel to tell the car that you're still conscious and aware. So this is a lot nicer because of that, and this can take sharper turns. It's still, again, it's not fully autonomous, so not every turn it can do, but it can definitely take sharper turns and drive more accurately than our C-Class can. You've also got a head-up display as well, which is nice, and it's got colour in it too. It's got the intelligent LED headlight system from Mercedes as well, which is really cool. Basically, you notice it the most when you have your high beams on and you're driving at night, and basically it will cut a little slot out for any cars that might be in the line of sight of the high beams. As cool as it is, and I love it, you're only obviously going to really notice it when you're driving out on the country roads where there are no street lights. It's also nice navigating with these two really large screens as well, so when you have your Apple CarPlay connected onto here, it's nice and very easy to read. Obviously Siri works as well, so in terms of infotainment, you're really well sorted in this car. And I really like also in the gauge cluster, I don't know how well you can see it from there, but I really like the tachometer and how the tachometer is basically got the electric mode at the bottom and then the normal petrol engine mode in the top. And so you can see the specific threshold where if you push your foot down further, it'll cross over into the gasoline engine tachometer, and you know exactly how hard to push if you want the gasoline engine to kick in or not, or whether you want to just stay electric. And it's great because I will tailor my throttle to keeping it in the power range or pushing it over into the gasoline engine range. Anyway, that's my thoughts on the E-Class. Hope you enjoyed the video. A big thank you again to the guys at reveiw for allowing us to borrow this car. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the video. Thank you.